Good afternoon. Welcome to the Texas Resource Review Phonics Standards Alignment Publisher webinar. This training is specifically for programs that have not been adopted by the State Board of Education. My name is Janet Warren. I am the Review and Adoption Coordinator for the Instructional Materials and Implementation Division. My job focuses on helping publishers through the review and adoption process, and specifically the standards alignment portion. I'm going to let the rest of the TEA team introduce themselves.
Welcome, y'all. I'm Amy Williams. I'm the Director of Instructional Materials Review and Procurement in the Instructional Materials and Implementation Division. I manage 3 work streams. One is the one that Janet just described. Another is the Texas Resource Review, and the third is assisting districts in accessing their allotment funds to purchase instructional materials and related things. Thanks for being here.
Hello, everybody. I'm Cassandra Pignato. Everyone calls me Cassie, and I am a review and adoption specialist. And my main focus here is helping publishers go through the review and adoption process. And I work very closely with Janet and, of course, my director, Amy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see y'all. My name is Sarah Ramirez, and I serve as the Texas Resource Review lead. And just happy to see y'all talk about standards alignment.
Thank you all. In this training, I'll provide you with information that you need to correctly complete your correlations. Some of this information will be a review since you have previously participated in a standards alignment review. So we are going to look at how the standards alignment fits into the bigger picture. We'll review what the breakout rules are, where to enter citations, how the review team determines standards coverage, and what the next steps are. This meeting is being recorded, and I will send the presentation slides to everyone registered for the webinar after the meeting. Please share this recording with your content team if they are not able to attend. I will be pausing for questions after each section of the presentation. You can unmute yourself and ask your question, or type your questions into the chat and we'll respond to your question at that time. Again, this training is specifically for publishers who do not have materials adopted by the State Board of Education. So I wanted to call out that we're specifically talking about step 4 in the quality review process, the evaluation of standards alignment. Unlike the quality portion of the review, TEA manages the recruitment of the standards alignment teams and the standards alignment process. As you know, the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills are made up of 3 parts: the introduction, the knowledge and skill statement, and the student expectations. The introduction is a general description of the content in the course. The knowledge and skill statements, or KSS, are broad statements of what students must know and be able to do. The student expectations provide specific information about how the students demonstrate their learning. And then TEA creates the breakouts to determine the alignment to the student expectations in instructional materials. The breakouts are the component parts of each student expectation. Let's review the breakout rules. When an SE contains the conjunction "and," all parts of the SE must be addressed and will be separated into different breakouts. For "or," at least one part must be addressed and will be included in one breakout. If a list is preceded by "including," all examples must be addressed and will be separated into different breakouts. If the SE contains a list preceded by "such as," the items in the list are illustrative examples only and are not included in the breakouts. You are not required to include each of the "such as" examples in your materials. The specific breakouts included for phonics can be found in section 1 of the quality rubrics, and they're listed here. The phonics breakouts are also included on the breakouts document webpage under Chapter 110, English Language Arts and Reading, and Chapter 128, Spanish Language Arts and Reading. TEA staff has put a link to the breakout document webpage in the chat. We're going to pause here. Are there any questions over what we have covered so far? Okay, hearing none, we will move forward. Now we're going to discuss TEKS correlations. You probably already know this information, the information covered in this section, but I want to cover it again as a review. We've already reviewed knowledge and skill statements, student expectations, and breakouts. So we're going to review a couple other things. A citation is the identification of content that covers the breakout. And the TEKS correlations is the document that contains the citations submitted by publishers for an instructional material or set of materials. The student expectation is considered addressed only if each breakout within the SB is addressed. There are two types of citations, the narrative citations and activity citations. A narrative citation provides an opportunity for the teacher to teach the knowledge or skill, or an opportunity for the student to learn the knowledge or skill. An activity citation provides an opportunity for the student to demonstrate the knowledge or practice the skill. Let's review some best practices for completing the TEKS correlation. It's crucial that you supply carefully constructed and accurate correlations. The state review panel uses your correlations as their primary reference when they review your instructional materials. You're only able to provide a limited number of citations for the breakouts. For that reason, it's important that you choose the best, most closely aligned content for every citation. Poorly chosen citations may impact your final TEKS percentage. Be very specific when describing the location of your citations. For example, in the description of the specific location, you might want to say top of the page, second paragraph, or under the practice section. And you must hyperlink to the exact location of the citation in your product. Be sure to test the hyperlinks in your that you enter into the URL section of your dashboard. And you want the reviewers to be able to easily navigate to the content in your material that you are referencing in your citations. Publishers are required to demonstrate alignment to both the student and the teacher materials. A student material is content intended for consumption by the student. Some examples could be the student edition, workbooks, Blackline Masters from the teacher edition, assessments, readers, posters, and portions of the teacher edition that provide prompts of what the student should do. You'll select student teacher when citing content intended for student consumption. The reason that we named the audience student and teacher is that if it's accepted by the reviewers, publishers will also receive credit for covering this type of content in the teacher materials, since every component in a program is available for teacher consumption. You'll select teacher when citing content that is intended only for the teacher. Some examples of this would include guidance on how to implement a lesson, differentiated instruction, or monitoring student progress. At a minimum, you must provide at least 2 citations, one for material intended for students, one narrative citation, and one activity citation for every breakout. You're required to demonstrate alignment in both the student and the teacher materials. However, remember from what we said from the previous slide that any citation accepted from the student material will count toward your coverage in the teacher material. This is because teachers use both the student and teacher materials to plan and deliver instruction. You'll have the opportunity to provide up to 4 narrative and 4 activity citations for each breakout. And we encourage you to provide multiple citations in the event that the panel does not accept the first citation. Remember, a student expectation is covered only if each of its breakouts are addressed, and a breakout is covered only if 1 narrative and activity citation for that breakout is accepted. The reviewers will move through your citations for each breakout in this order. They'll review all the narrative citations provided from the student material until they've accepted one or rejected all. This is why it's important to put your strongest student narrative citation first. If they reject all, then they must move to the narrative citations provided from the teacher material. But these citations will not count towards the coverage of the student material, which is your official TEKS percentage. The reviewers will then repeat the process for each activity citation. Are there any questions about TEKS correlations? Remember, you can come off mute or you can put it into the chat. Okay, we will move forward then. Now we're going to talk about using the dashboard and determining TEKS percentage. So I would like you all to log into the StandardsAlignment Dashboard. The login button is at the footer of the TexasResourceReview.org website. Once you've logged into your account, you will be adding a program, and then you'll enter the login credentials to access your materials at every program. I'm going to go through the steps real quickly here, and then I will demo it for you so you can see within the dashboard. We did give access to at least one person from every publisher access to the dashboard already. You should have received that email, I believe, on Thursday of last week, and it may be in your spam folder. So once you log into the dashboard, you'll click on My Publisher Home link. You'll click Add a Program. You'll select the standard and enter the program title and program ISBN. You'll enter the username and password for the program. These credentials should allow access to all components of the program. And you'll need to enter credentials at every program level. You'll save your changes. And then let me go ahead and show you the dashboard. So here's the TexasResourceReview.org website. You'll scroll down all the way to the bottom to the footer and click on Admin Login. You'll enter your username and password and click Login. Here you will see My Publisher Home. Yours will not say SRP Dashboard. You'll click on My Publisher Home. And when you first go in, if you've never entered any programs, this bottom program list will be blank, but I've already have some test programs in here. So I'm going to show you how to add a program. You'll click Add Program. You'll select the standard. And I'm going to select English Language Arts and Phonics Grade 3. I'm going to call it TEA Test 3. You will enter an ISBN. And then you'll enter a username and password into for your material into that program. And then you'll click Add Program. It will take a moment to initialize. But now your program should be listed in the program list at the bottom. If you need to make edits to a program, you will click on the title of that program. That's also how you will get to the other information we need to look at. So if you need to make an edit, you click on Edit the Program Information. It will appear over on the slide out. You can add components by importing components or adding them individually. I'm going to give an example of just adding one individually. I'm going to name it component 3. There is an additional ISBN field. The reason that's there is sometimes the materials will be both a digital and print version, and you can put the different ISBNs in that location. The type, or sorry, first you'll select the audience. I'm going to leave it as student teacher. You'll select the product type. It's also a drop down. I'm going to leave that as print. And then you'll have product formats you can select from the list, and I'm going to leave it as textbook. And then you'll enter the URL. I'm going to save that component. Once you have a component listed, then you can start entering your correlations. But that's the first step. You want to make sure you enter all of those all of those components first, so that you can reference them in your correlations. You'll click on Review Correlations. Then you'll click on Go to Student Expectations. And this will show the expectations for that phonics subset only. So you'll see there's only 2 listed. You're going to go to the correlation. And one thing you will notice is that the breakouts may not correspond, the breakout Romanette may not correspond to the breakout Romanette in the breakout documents, because we're only pulling out specific breakouts for this phonics review. So you'll want to match the language that you see here in the breakout with the breakout document. You'll click Add a Narrative Citation. And remember, you want to add your strongest citations first for your student materials, or your that will cover the student and teacher audience. You'll choose your component. Right now, I only have one component, but you may have multiple listed. You'll enter the page number of your that you're citing. You'll enter the citation URL, and then you'll enter a specific description. Okay, so I entered beginning of second paragraph is where I want them to start looking for this. And if you are going to be correlating to a PDF document, and the PDF viewfinder has a different page number than the actual page number of the materials, you will want to put in parentheses the PDF page number, so that the reviewers are easily able to find your location. And you'll save your citation. Once you have done that, you can add additional. Remember, you can have up to 4 narrative citations, and then you'll add your activity citations. You can have up to 4 activity citations. You'll click on View Next Correlation once you've finished with this breakout. And then when you've finished entering your correlations, you've gone through them all, or you need to take a break and need to go back, you can click here to go back to your program in the breadcrumbs up at the top. Again, I showed you how to edit your program information. You'll have all the components listed. And if you go back to your publisher name, if you need to add additional users, you'll click on Manage Users, you'll click Add a User, and then you'll add user information. Okay, I'm gonna pause right there so that we can ask a couple of questions, if you have any questions about the dashboard itself, before we move on to the next part.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I had some questions. I just needed you to navigate back to the screens. Perhaps I missed the answers to this, but when you click on, let's say, You put in the name of the publisher name. Can you click on the next screen when you were populating the title, I guess, before you got to the components, add a program? Can you go through those steps again? I just had a question. So for title, what are you expecting there? The title of the program or the book or?
This will be the title of the program.
Okay, program title. Okay, and then can you click on TEA Test Phonics Grade 3 and go through the process of adding the correlations? When you say component, you're being specific to the components of the program that we are correlating?
Yes.
Or are there specific, okay, just making sure that you didn't have criteria for what the components needed to be. And it automatically, can you go to the next step where you were populating the citations?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't have access to the dashboard yet, so it was hard to follow through. When we click go to add a narrative citation, okay, and we choose the components we added,
Mm-hmm.
how do we determine, I was just not sure, we're adding the URLs for each and every one of those citations, and if it must be able to include, I was trying to piece together your ands and your ors, the slide you showed in the beginning, how it applies to this page. Do you know what I'm referencing?
The breakouts will already be listed for you here. So you're putting in your specific correlations to this specific breakout. And
Okay.
then to get to the next breakout, you'll click on view next correlation, and then I'll have the next breakout that you're going to enter your citations for. And you'll go through until you've entered the breakouts for, entered the correlations for all of the breakouts.
Okay, great. And if it's, you mentioned something in the beginning on the slide, like if it had and or, I was just trying to see an example of something like that. So we'll just we just have to make sure we follow that slide that you had in the beginning. Is there a place where we can find that, where the rules were?
Yes, I'll be sending out the slide deck after the presentation, and so it'll have it on there. And also, when I initially sent the email out about these webinars, there was a breakout document on there that included examples.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Do you mind if I elaborate a little bit more about the breakout rules?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Bianca, if you look at I don't know if the words are big enough for you to see, but we've actually already done the work for you about separating the and, the ors, the includings, and removing such ases. So in this example, the student expectation is to demonstrate and apply phonetic knowledge by, and then it lists out different things. And so the breakout is demonstrate phonetic knowledge by decoding multisyllabic words with closed syllables. So that's the breakout of that student expectation. We've already pulled out all the pieces and broken them apart for you. And so you're just looking at the words in the breakout and providing your citations.
Okay, great. Because I was looking like, where are they saying and or? I see it up top, but I'm all, okay, you explained that. Thank you. That makes sense now. Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions about the dashboard? Let's see. Okay, and I'm going to go back to the presentation. Before I get into determining your TEKS percentage, your TEKS coverage percentage, I want to let you know that the Standards Alignment Dashboard will automatically calculate and display your TEKS percentage as you enter your correlations. When you click Submit for Review, you will be given the chance to override the system calculated score. For a review against a full set of TEKS, publishers may use this option, but for the purposes of this review, that won't be necessary. You can enter the system calculated score when you submit for review. The system calculated score is calculated by dividing the number of student expectations for which you provided the required citations by the total number of student expectations. This is the highest possible score you can receive based on the number of citations you provided. For example, in English Language Arts and Reading, Phonics, Kindergarten, there are a total of 5 student expectations. You provided at least 2 citations, 1 narrative, and 1 activity for each of the breakouts associated with 4 student expectations. So you'll divide your provided SEs, which is 4, by 5, which is the total number of SEs, and you would get 80%. There are times when reviewers will reject some of the citations provided. You'll be given an opportunity during the review to provide new content or new citations for rejected breakouts, as long as your product is found by the reviewers to meet at least 75% of the system calculated score. If you're found to be eligible to provide new content during the review, you will have only 48 hours from the time you receive your initial report to do so. So it's important that you coordinate with your content staff to ensure they are available during that time. We ask that everyone submit a preliminary round of correlations, which will allow TEA staff the opportunity to review your approach and to provide some feedback. We will be evaluating your correlations for completion, clarity, and accuracy, but we do not provide feedback about the actual content cited. We ask that you complete citations for at least 1 complete student expectation before requesting feedback. And then after the preliminary round of feedback, we are happy to provide ongoing feedback if requested. Are there any questions about the Standards Alignment Dashboard or determining the TEACS percentage? Okay, we'll move forward. Now we're going to talk about next steps. You will need to identify who on your team is going to enter citations into the Standards Alignment Dashboard. We have set up an account for at least 1 person for each company. If you need to add additional users in the Standards Alignment Dashboard, you may do so. And if you have any issues with that, please submit a help desk ticket so we can assist you. We have set up weekly office hours every Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Time, beginning on March 30th and ending on June 29th. The link to the office hours is in the slide deck, but it'll also be provided in the email with the recording. You'll need to begin working on your preliminary correlations, and you'll begin identifying the team who will provide support during that standards alignment review. Your preliminary correlation is due April 15th. TEA staff will then spend the next week reviewing it and providing feedback to ensure the review team members receive clear and concise correlations. Then the final correlations are due on July 1st. Are there any questions about the next steps or any other part of the training? If you have any questions after this meeting, please submit an instructional materials and implementation help desk ticket or attend the office hours beginning on Wednesday, March 30th. Your feedback is important to us, so please complete the exit ticket. And this will conclude our training. Thank you for attending this session. We'll hang on a few more minutes in case anybody has any additional questions that they want to ask. And the exit ticket was added to the chat.
Hi, Janet. This is Liza. I've got 2 questions.
Okay.
One is about about when we go in and add our programs, there's the place to list credentials for accessing content, place to list username and password,
Mhm.
but no place to list like a URL. Is that because I'm assuming now at seeing you walk through the citation process again? Is that because we're adding those links within the citations, within the
Yes.
correlations, so there's no need for us to try and at the program level say here's the URL you need?
You'll be entering the URL for each citation. So that username and password should be able to let the user or the reviewer click on the link to that URL and get them into that specific location.
Okay, and then my other question is around importing components versus manually doing it one at a time. It seems like there's a way we can create not an Excel file, but a CSV file and import.
Yes.
Um,
So there's a link that has instructions for the file import. And then there's also going to be a sample file that's there for you so that you can review those documents and then import your components.
okay. I think that's all I have now.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you all for your time today. We appreciate you spending the last half hour with us going over this process.